Welcome to this NCJW mat yoga practice with the theme of finding joy. Hopefully you've set up your mat, come to a seated posture, could be with legs forward, legs bent, whatever is comfortable. Remembering that yoga is the union of mind, body, and breath. Sit with a dignified posture, not rigid, chin parallel to the floor. Relax your face, relax your breath, and begin to breathe through your nose, inhaling deeply and exhaling just as deeply. This slow, symmetrical breath helping to trigger a relaxation response. Maybe close your eyes and center yourself as you do this. Take your hands by your sides, and we're going to do some sun breaths to practice breathing together. Inhale slowly as you lift your hands overhead. Exhale just as slowly. Inhale. Exhale. Maybe one more. Bring your hands to your lap. Imagine a clock face in front of you. Point your nose to the 12 o'clock, and as you exhale, start to move your nose around that clock face, making circles. The size is up to you, large or small. Using all of the muscles of your neck where we carry so much stress. Come back to the 12 o'clock, and with your next exhale, start to move in the opposite direction, slow and steady. Coming back to a seated posture, take your hands behind your head and allow your head to look up, holding it, maybe making it a little easier. And breathe. Remove your hands, come back to a neutral neck, and then gently looking down. Remember, only doing what feels right in your body, never doing anything that causes pain, modifying it until it's comfortable. Inhale back to center. Take one hand to the side of the mat and curve your spine. Slow, steady breaths. Inhale and come to the other side. And come back to center. Lift your shoulders and start to make shoulder circles, either one at a time, or maybe both, or some of each. I like to go front to back, the opposite of the way we sit over phones and computers and other devices. Come back to a seated posture. Maybe take one hand forward and up and follow it, turning your whole body to make a circle, only making a circle if this feels right for your shoulder and the size, up to you. Come back to the other side. Inhale, and on an exhale, whatever size or shape, but just beginning to use that shoulder, never with pain. And coming back to center, cross your fingers, push your hands forward and up. Inhale, and on an exhale, turn towards one side, let your arms come down. With each inhale, imagine your spine getting longer. With each exhale, relaxing into the twist. Slow, steady breaths. Inhale back to center, cross your hands the opposite way, the way that feels funny. Push your hands forward and up. On an exhale, twist in the other direction. Let your arms come down. Keep your chin parallel to the floor. With each inhale, imagine your spine growing 1/10 of an inch. With each exhale, just relax into the twist. Slow, steady breaths. Coming back to center, take your hands behind and look up, opening your heart, opening your chest. Come forward, maybe opening your legs and again taking your arms behind, maybe pointing your toes up, opening your chest. Come forward, and if you're stable this way and it feels okay, using your hands to support the posture. Inhale and come forward and maybe make some rib circles, letting your pelvis come off the mat. It can be large or small, whatever feels good. If your back is curving, then I would avoid this. I want you to keep your back straight, maybe even looking up to help you keep your back straight. Maybe make a couple in each direction, whatever feels really good. And come back up. Sit up tall. Your knees are straight unless they hurt. You can put something under them to support them if that's more comfortable. Slowly walking your hands forward, keeping your back straight, just until you feel a stretch in the groin. You don't have to go very far. Maybe walking over towards one side, and again, keeping your back straight, coming forward just a little bit, and only if it feels right. Come back up and gently look at the other side. And remember, you're not pinning your hips to the mat, you're letting them move. And come back to center. Take the soles of your feet together, arms behind, and again, opening your chest. Slow, steady breaths. Inhale back to center, rolling over your knees and coming to tabletop. In tabletop, your hips are over your knees, your shoulders are over your wrists, your hands are spread wide. Point your thumbs towards each other just a little bit so that there's a slight inturning of your arms. Your elbow creases are facing each other. Look down, inhale, look up into cow, letting your belly come down. With your next exhale, come to cat, looking down, curving your spine in the other direction. If this works for your body, moving with your breath, going between cat and cow, only moving as you start to either inhale or exhale. Slow, steady breaths. And if this doesn't work for you, stay in tabletop. Coming back to tabletop, check your posture, shoulders still over your wrists. Take one hand forward, the opposite foot to the back of your mat. Stay here, or maybe lifting that leg into sunbird. Slow, steady breaths. And bring that leg down. Then come to the other side. Keeping that foot on the mat, maybe lifting it into sunbird. Slow, steady breaths. Lower that hand, lower that foot. Come to one side, modified side plank. You can keep your foot on the mat. Maybe you're lifting it. Maybe you're taking hold of the ankle or the foot. Try to keep your back straight. And if this doesn't feel wonderful, you're modifying it. And gently make your way to the other side. Your version on this side, whatever works for you. Coming back to tabletop, maybe lowering your head to the mat or a block and coming to child's pose, allowing your bottom to go wherever it needs to be. Try to keep your forehead down. Knees can be together or apart, whatever feels best in your body. Slowly and gently make your way to downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, your fingers are still wide open, thumbs pointing towards each other. Again, there's a slight interning of your upper arms. Your elbows are straight unless they hurt. Knees are straight unless they hurt. If you can't straighten your knees, try to bend one knee deeply and straighten the opposite leg. This will be a nice stretch for the muscles in the back of that leg, and maybe alternate with your breath, or take a few breaths in each version. Whatever works for your body. Pushing your heels towards the mat and coming to stillness, whether they're up high or down low. Take some breaths. A slight interning of your feet towards each other. Slow, steady breaths. Shake your head yes and no. Relaxing into this downward facing dog. Push into the mat with the tips of your fingers and the back of your palm. Let the center of your palm lift. And breathe. Bend your knees and slowly walk towards the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale and rise with a straight back. Hands overhead, hands to heart center, mountain pose. In mountain pose, you're pushing into the ball and heel of each foot. Lift your toes and put them down. You're standing with nice posture, straight, but maintaining the natural curve of your back. Turn your palms forward to help pull your shoulders back. Chin parallel to the floor. Relax your face, your jaw. Maybe stare at something straight ahead that's not moving, a drishti or a focal point. Or close your eyes and look within. This is a very good centering pose. The mountain representing balance in yoga. And breathe. Inhale and lift your hands overhead, maybe look up. Exhale and fold with a straight back, bending from your hips, softening your knees if you have to. Halfway lift, exhale, bend your knees deeply and come to plank. Knees can be up or down. You're looking down, your shoulders are over your wrists, your fingers are still wide, and breathe. On an exhale, bend your elbows, lower yourself to the mat. Inhale and come to cobra. Exhale, lower. Inhale, come back up to cobra, or maybe upward facing dog. And either coming through tabletop or rolling over your toes, come to downward facing dog. 3 slow breaths here. Get here however is right for your body. Slow, steady breaths. Bend your knees, walk, step, come through tabletop, whatever you need to come to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift, exhale, fold. Inhale and rise, hands overhead, hands to heart center, mountain pose, 3 slow breaths. Inhale, hands overhead, exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands to the mat and either come through plank or go directly to downward facing dog. Your version. Slow, steady breaths once you're here. Inhale and lift your right leg to the sky and bring it forward, setting up for runner's lunge. Push into the mat with your opposite hand. Stay on the ball of your back foot. Make sure your knee is over your ankle and open. Slow, steady breaths. Lower your lifted hand to the mat or to a block. Swing your back foot flat. Keep that knee over ankle and open in the other direction. Slow, steady breaths. Both hands to the mat and we'll meet in downward facing dog. Get there however you need, going there directly, through tabletop, through plank, whatever works. And breathe. Lift your other leg to the sky and bring it forward, setting up for runner's lunge here. Push into the mat or a block with the opposite hand, knee over ankle, and twist. Lower your lifted hand to the mat or a block. Swing your back foot flat, knee over ankle, open in the opposite direction. Slow, steady breaths. Lower both hands to the mat. You'll meet in downward facing dog. Getting there however you need. Three slow breaths in downward facing dog. Maybe pushing one heel into the mat again. Maybe curving your hips, whatever feels good. Breathe. Bend your knees, walk, step, jump, or come through tabletop to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale and rise. And come to mountain pose. Slow, steady breaths. Bend your knees and come to chair pose, your version. Maybe hands at heart center, hands in front, maybe lifted. Pull your belly in, don't push your bottom out. Slow, steady breaths. You should really feel this in the muscles of your thigh. And breathe. Hands to heart center. Maybe rotate this pose by bringing your elbow to your thigh, or another version is to bring one hand forward and one back. Keep your knees level. Slow, steady breaths. Hands to heart center, opposite direction, knees still level. Inhale, hands together and stand. Mountain pose, 2 breaths. Inhale, hands overhead. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. We'll meet in downward facing dog. Get there however you need. And breathe. Inhale, lift one leg to the sky. Bring it forward this time. Set your back foot down at the other edge of the mat and rise into warrior one. Your version. Hands at heart center, hands lifted, whatever works for you. But that knee is over your ankle and you can see your big toe. That's how you know you're not twisting that knee. And breathe. Lift your hands a little higher. On an exhale, hands to the mat. Make your way to downward facing dog, either directly or flowing. Two slow breaths here. Inhale and take your opposite leg forward, setting up for warrior one. over the opposite knee. Your version. Inhale, send your breath down into the earth through your feet, up into the sky through your hands. The warrior is a fierce pose. Inhale, reach your hands a little higher. Exhale, hands to the mat. We'll meet in downward facing dog. Push into the mat with your hands, the four corners of your feet. Lift your toes. Breathe. Bend your knees, walk, step, or jump to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, bend your knees and come through chair. And then stand in mountain pose. Slow, steady breaths here. Inhale, hands to heart center. Open your feet a comfortable distance. Turn one foot towards the short end of the mat, maybe just beyond, directly forward. This will turn your back hip a little forward. Adjust your stance so that your hips are comfortable and come to triangle. Straight back. Only going as low as you need. Maybe experimenting with a block or just keeping that hand in front or behind your leg. Your gaze is wherever it needs to be, forward, down, or up. And breathe. Inhale and slowly lift hands to heart center, revolving and coming to your version of triangle on this side. Each side different. Slow, steady breath. If your back is curving forward, come up a little. That will help you to keep your back straight. Inhale and slowly lift hands to heart center. Turn both feet to face the short end of the mat. Hips are parallel to the short end of the mat now. Lift the opposite hand forward. Take the arm on the side of the front leg out, palm facing up. Inhale, and on an exhale, bending from your hips, come forward, either holding on to your leg, to a block or the mat, and then, and only if it feels good in your hips, turning your torso to revolve your triangle pose. Slow, steady breaths here. Lower your hands, soften your knee, and slowly rotating to the other side. Hips parallel to the other side. Lift your opposite arm up. Arm on the side of the front foot is open, coming out of the shoulder. You're not going to move that arm. Inhale, maybe looking up. Exhale, bending from the hips. Bring that hand to your leg, to a block or the mat, and then maybe revolving the triangle. Slow, steady breaths. Lower your arms, soften that knee, and slowly rise, coming back to mountain pose. And breathe. Inhale, hands to heart center. Open your feet, turn one foot towards the short end of the mat. Knee over that ankle and come to wide angle pose. You can use a block. You can keep your arm on your thigh. You can bring it down, but try to keep your back straight. Knee over ankle. Slowly rise, hands to heart center, and come to wide angle pose over the other side. Your version, just keep that knee over the ankle. Maybe pushing into the outer edge of your back foot. The rest is up to you. And breathe. Inhale and slowly pull to stand. Both feet face the short end of the mat. We're going to revolve that wide angle pose. Bring that knee over ankle and maybe take your elbow into a twist. If that doesn't work for you, you can keep standing. One arm forward, one back. Make sure that knee is over your ankle, toes pointing forward. Slow, steady breath. Inhale and slowly unwind and come to the other side. Slowly come out of the pose, mountain pose, 3 slow breaths. Open your feet, stand up tall and come to a forward fold. Maybe take your hands to your legs, to a block, to the mat, whatever works for you. If you need more and your hands are on the mat, you can separate your feet and go a little lower. Keep your back straight. Slowly come out of the pose, heel toe your feet closer if you separated them, and stand up tall. Repeat that version, or maybe take a bind behind you, holding your elbows or your hands. Inhale, and on an exhale, come forward with a straight back. If your shoulders like it, you can lift your arms, and if not, keep them low. And breathe. If you lifted your arms, lower them and slowly rise, hands on your hips, mountain pose. Inhale, hands to heart center, open your feet, turn both feet to face the short end of your mat. Separate your hips so your feet, so your hips are parallel to a short end, and come to pyramid pose. Hands can be at heart center, on your hip, in a reverse namaste. You can use your hands to support the pose or not, depending upon what you need. Slowly coming forward, maybe bringing your hands forward, keeping your back straight, only going as far as you need to feel a stretch in that front leg. If you're very far forward, looking at your feet and your back is straight, you can then look down. Otherwise, keep looking at your feet. Slow, steady breaths. Soften your knee and slowly rise, hands to heart center, and come to the other side, your version on this side. Inhale, and on an exhale, come forward. Straight back, only going as far as you need, using whatever support you need. And breathe. Soften your knees and slowly coming out of the pose, mountain pose. 3 slow breaths. Open your feet, turn your toes out, and come to joy, sometimes called 5-pointed star or full moon. This is a great posture to take when you're feeling a little low and have some privacy, or not. Look up and breathe. Hands to your hips, turn one foot to face the short end of the mat. Your back foot is perpendicular to your heel. heel is intersecting the arch, or whatever feels right for your body. Bring that knee over your ankle and come to Warrior Two. In Warrior Two, you're breathing through your nose, sending air down into your feet, up into your head, fingertip to fingertip. Think of this as a pose where your breath is on fire, sending light from your heart in all directions. Maybe an image of joy. Powerful image. Either bring your hands to heart center or just straighten that front knee and slowly make your way to Warrior Two in the opposite direction. The warrior is an image for advocacy, much like NCJW. Fighting for human rights with truth, non-violently, working towards peace. Hands to your hips and reopen to joy. Hands to your hips and come back to mountain pose. Slow, steady breaths. Make your way down to the mat, finding your way to seated mountain pose. So in seated mountain pose, your knees are straight unless they hurt. You're pointing your toes up if that feels good. Turn your toes a little bit towards each other, making it easy for your legs to turn as you forward fold. Sit up tall, push into the mat. Maybe take a strap or a belt or a scarf if you have tight hamstrings, and even if you don't. Inhale, hands overhead. Exhale, come forward. If you're using the strap, take it around the middle of your foot. Come back to seated. Then use your arms to help you keep your knees straight. And maybe that's all you do if you have really tight hamstrings. Keep your back straight. Maybe over time you'll go a little further. Moving slowly with your breath, relaxing into the pose. Slow, steady breaths wherever you wind up. No pushing, just let practice deepen your forward fold. Release your belt or your hands. Open your feet into a V. Keep your knees straight if you can. Bend one knee and point your foot towards any part of the leg except the knee, and you don't need to be touching, just facing. Turn towards your straight leg. You're going to rotate over the hip of the bent knee. Keep that strap handy. Inhale, hands overhead. Exhale, come forward. Again, using the strap perhaps to keep the knee straight, or maybe helping you to go a little further. And over time, you'll deepen the pose just by stretching your muscles each time, not by forcing. Remember, you're anchoring the opposite hip to the mat. Slowly coming out of the pose and reversing. Inhale, hands overhead. Exhale, you're coming over the opposite leg, maybe using a strap to help deepen the pose. You're anchoring the opposite hip to the mat, letting the other one, the hip of the straight leg, come up if it needs to. Back is straight. Slow, steady breaths. Slowly coming out of the pose, bringing the soles of your feet together into cobbler's pose. Hands behind, again, opening your chest. Sit up tall, straighten one knee, bend the other. Either keep that foot where it is or bring it across if that feels okay. Hugging it with the arm on the side where your foot is now. Lift your other arm and on an exhale, maybe coming into a twist. Slow, steady breaths. Maybe looking over that back shoulder and maybe not. Slowly coming out of the posture and coming to the other side. Maybe keeping that front foot pointing up to increase the stretch of the muscles of that leg. Inhale your hand up, exhale, come into the twist. Slow, steady breaths. Slowly come out of the pose, bring your feet to the mat, setting up for boat pose. In boat pose, you're using your core muscles, not your lower back. So if your back hurts, then you need to come out of the pose and modify it until it's comfortable. Some of you may just need to lean back, and that action again, alone, may get your core muscles going. Some may need to lift one leg or both legs to get the core involved. Keep your back straight and no pain. You want to be using your core. Maybe half straightening your legs. Maybe straightening them. This is very hard the taller you are. Maybe not using your arms. Now you're really using your core. But if that's not right for you, modify the version and do what is right. Bring your feet down to the mat. Open your legs again, maybe a little further than we did in the beginning of the practice, and see if you can keep your back straight and come forward. Maybe you won't go any further than we did in the beginning, or maybe you'll come a little further. Listening to your body with kindness. Whatever you need to feel a stretch in your groin, and then stop. Just relax into the stretch. Definitely, if you're curving your back, come up. Come back to seated, look at one leg. Do not pin your hips to the mat, let them move. Slowly come over one leg. Only going as far as you need to feel this in the leg muscles. Maybe making it into a twist. Bring your hands down and slowly moving over to the other side. First coming over, letting the opposite hip come up. Only going far enough to feel this in the muscles of your leg, and then maybe making it into a twist. Inhale and slowly come up and make your way to your back, hugging your knees into your chest. Rolling from side to side. Bring your legs straight up into legs up the wall. And if you're near a wall, experiment with keeping your legs on the wall. Then it's a restorative pose. Bend both knees. Take your feet to the mat and come to a number 4 stretch. This you should feel in the hip of the upper leg. To increase the stretch, you can lift the bottom leg, maybe even straightening the leg, maybe pulling it forward. Slow, steady breaths. Lower that leg. Lift the top leg, maybe bringing it forward. You can use a belt or a strap here. Maybe bringing your nose towards the knee. If you're using a strap, hold on to the strap with the hand on the side of the lifted leg, maybe taking it out to the side, let your hips ride. You can also straighten that bottom leg, or not. Maybe bring that leg straight up and then turning the toes in, coming just across till you feel a stretch in the iliotibial band. And slowly come back up, hug that knee and reverse. If you're using a strap, take it around the opposite leg. Maybe bringing that foot towards your nose, maybe lifting your nose towards the knee. Slow to steady breaths. Lower your head. If it's lifted, maybe take that leg out to the side and breathe. Bring that leg up, turn the toes towards the midline and come across. Release the strap, hug your knees into your chest. Bring the soles of your feet together into seated cobbler's pose and breathe. Bring your knees together. Let both knees fall to one side, maybe opening your hands to a T. And then come up and come to the other side. Maybe doing this 2 or 3 times. And then come to stillness. And now you have a choice. We're going to do a mountain meditation as our resting pose. You can do this on your back in corpse pose, or a really wonderful way to do this is sitting. And you can sit in various ways, but if you can lift your hips so that your knees are below your hips, it is a wonderful way to do this pose. You can do it with the blocks under your hips, or you can do it in a kneeling pose, supporting your hips. So either with your body in corpse pose, relax your body, relax your face. Feel the connections of your body to the mat. If you're sitting and your hips are elevated, imagine yourself as a mountain. If you're on your back, you're just picturing the most beautiful mountain that you have ever seen or can imagine in your mind. Sitting up tall but not rigidly if you're seated on the mat. Picture your mountain in your mind's eye. Imagine your head as the peak of the mountain, your shoulders the softly drooping sides, your hips and your legs reaching down into the earth. Picture the strength of your mountain, of the base you've created with your legs and your hips. Close your eyes. Keep the image of the mountain within you. Imagine your mountain on a beautiful, sunny, cold, wintry day when the sky is blue. Perhaps there are evergreen trees on your mountain, so there are specks of green. Maybe there's brown, and the deciduous trees are leafless. Maybe there's even snow on the top of your mountain. But the sky is blue and you can see the mountain clearly. breathe. And now imagine your tree in summer when everything is green, the snow has melted. There are white fluffy clouds in the sky. Maybe a cloud is hiding the top of your mountain, but you know it's there. Maybe there are even streams and colorful flowers to be seen on your mountain. Maybe the base of the mountain now is full of green of trees. Picture your mountain during a storm. Maybe a summer storm with fog and clouds and pelting rain and winds, such that you can't see the top of your mountain. It's hidden by the gray of the sky and the clouds and the rain. But you know that the mountain is sitting there just as you are if you're seated, or you're imagining in your mind if you're flat. The same strong mountain rooted to the earth. If this image of a strong centered mountain speaks to you, use it from time to time by bringing the image within to remind you that while we have weather in our lives, sometimes good, sometimes difficult, nothing lasts, and we remain the same centered, rooted person, just as the mountain. For 2 minutes, just be completely present in this image of the mountain, or go back to paying attention to your breath, but try not to move. And we'll come out of this meditation together with the sound of 3 bells. Try not to move until the bells become silent. Slowly begin to move your fingers and toes. Maybe take one last total body stretch. If you're not already seated, come to your seat by gently rolling to one side. Maybe keeping your eyes closed. Bring your hands to heart center. So we traditionally end a yoga practice with the word namaste. And in its simplest translation, it says, "The light or holiness inside of me sees the same light or holiness inside each of you. And in that way we are one." So we say to each other, namaste, and thank you.